We are popular tonight. I don't know how long to let it go before we just call it.
I don't either. I've never had a none. We've had some that ended quick, but never
Yep.
had a none. It's if it really does end up being a none, it's kind of an indicator for maybe this isn't a call that's people feel is useful.
Yep.
And we do something different.
I'm texting Erin to find out how long we go.
Right. Oh, we have somebody.
Oh, all right.
I'm trained.
Let me pull up my.
Sorry about that. I didn't realize I was coming with my microphone on.
No worries.
I'm not really a rookie team. I was just going to listen in.
Well,
You are currently the only person in the call besides us.
All right. So I can pick your brains on all the questions that I have.
Absolutely. Do it. I dare you. But
might give
wait.
you a headache.
before I do that, I'm Joanne Halloran. I work for First Tech Challenge, and this is Mark Edelman. Mark is our global head referee. Is that the right title?
That's the new title. Yep.
And he's also the program delivery partner. He and his partner are the partners in NorCal, and they serve FLL and FTC in a really, really big region. Mark's also a member of our game design committee. So he's up for questions. He probably has more answers than I do. I can help with judging things. Mark can help with the rest. So this is a call about rookie team resources. The call's being recorded. We have some new Microsoft Teams software that blurs your faces and omits your name for the recording. So feel free to ask what you'd like to ask. We will probably call on you by your first name if you raise your hand. But if you ask questions in the Q&A or in the chat, which may or may not be disabled, we'll do our very best to answer them. This is a call for rookie team resources. We've only got a couple of people on the call, so right now it's kind of feel free to ask the things you want to ask. We're hosting this call to provide an avenue for rookie teams to ask questions and get live answers. Sometimes that works better than reading an answer in print. Live answers, we can get through the nuance of a response and maybe make it a more clear response for you. This is a Q&A style format. We're open for questions from multiple areas of First Tech Challenge, but we can't help you with robot construction questions, and we cannot help you with specific programming issues or robot troubleshooting. That's not what this call is. While Mark has the expertise for that, I certainly do not. Competition manual is the thing you need to read. If you've been around for a bit, if you're not a rookie, look at the competition manual. It's entirely different than it's been in every other year. And all the stuff is there. So it's got the eligibility rules, the robot construction rules, all the game stuff, eligibility for awards, criteria for awards, all the stuff you might want to know about judging is actually really there. It's the manual is written this year in a way where if it doesn't say that this is not legal, it's legal. So roll with that. That's important. Updates to the competition manual are posted bi-weekly, twice a month. They are rule clarifications. So you'll get game rules, robot rules, and judging rules. If anything's clarified, they'll be updated in the respective manuals, and they'll come out in a team update. You can subscribe to the team update, and I would highly recommend that you do that. There's a team Q&A. If you are a registered and paid team, one adult on the team can go in and register for the team Q&A. You can post questions there. The questions will be answered by somebody from the game design committee or somebody from FTC staff. If the answer that you get isn't clear to you, ask your question again and think about asking it a different way. They're answered beginning each Monday and they close on Thursdays at noon. And we close it on Thursdays at noon so that our event volunteers for weekend events have the opportunity to catch up. We don't want to publish a game update or a Q&A update on a Friday afternoon and then have some people miss it and some people catch it. That doesn't feel fair to any of you all. We have a community forum. This is the best place to go for technical questions. So if you've got questions about programming, if you've got questions about how do I make this part work with my robot? You know, we're trying something new. This is the place to go for it. You'll get help from your peers, and often Danny from First Staff will jump in and help as well. So it's a super valuable resource. We've got a coach's goal tracker that walks coaches through all the things that they probably should be paying attention to as the season progresses. It's a high-level plan just to stay on track. We've got a mentor manual. The mentor manual, I will warn you, is dense, but you can search and find the things that you need, especially if you've never coached or mentored students. This is a really great resource to help you get your bearings. And this is where the resource library is. Let's see. The first website will tell you where events in your area are. FTC events will give you the event results and also give you information about where events are in your area. And your region's program delivery partner, like Mark, is the best place to go for any kind of resource you need, especially if you're looking for event information or what you need to sign up for an event. That's the place to go. And that's the last slide. So now it's all about you guys.
Yep.
You can
Time to ask questions.
Really? You have a question?
Oh, no, I said it's time to ask questions.
Oh, it's time to ask questions. I was like, Mark, you know all the things.
No.
So you can,
if only, right?
you could type a question. Same. If you could type a question, you could type a question in the Q&A. You can, if you've got a chat feature, you can put your question in chat, or you could use the raise hand icon, and we'll just unmute you and you can ask us your questions. Go right ahead, Yvonne.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions. Some are one is for this platform here. I don't have access to the chat and I don't have Q&A, so I always have to ask my questions out loud. Do you guys
Yeah, it's
know
perfectly fine. Perfectly fine.
And the honest truth is, this is a new webinar platform for us as well. This is the first season that we're using it for the teams and volunteer support calls. So we're just learning it as well. So don't worry about it. Do what works. So get the questions asked.
Okay. All right. So I think on the call, was it yesterday or the day before, there was mention, yeah, it must have been on Wednesday. As far as the new updates that came out, there was a comment that was made about the human player controlling just the clip side of the specimen in the observation zone if they weren't breaking the wall of the field. And I did not see it technically addressed in the game, in the update. Is that?
It was actually answered earlier in the season in just the regular team Q&A.
Okay.
So the question got asked, you know, can the human player holding the clip on the outside the field so that none of their fingertips are breaking the top surface of the wall? Can they move it while there's a robot in the observation zone? And the answer to that question on the forum was yes. Right. So take a browse through the Q&A forum. I'm reasonably certain it's there.
Okay, because I was just wondering, because I was reading through it again and it said like transitively. So okay, but I'm gonna say that that's a cool answer. So Okay, and then I had so my husband just went through the referee training as well. And in there's a question about contact with the low rung before making that level 3 ascent.
Yep.
So so the robot has to be fully supported by on that low rung before it can move on to the next level ascent. Am I understanding that correctly?
That actually isn't the way the constraint is written. It has to no longer be supported by the tiles before it can contact the rung, the high rung. So people kind of scratch their heads when they look at that, but I'll just say one word: jump.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. That actually does help. Okay, and then what other one did I have here? Oh, yeah. So during a match, we had an alliance partner during auto run over our alliance, the yellow specimen on our alliance side while controlling another scoring element. And we got a penalty called on us. Is that
So in general, when you ask those kind of questions, you're probably going to get a kind of vague answer, because a lot of the calls that are made in those situations really are about what the referees observe. And
Mhm.
so just because you said they called a penalty, I'm going to make an assumption about what I think they observed.
Okay.
But what they're looking for is more than one scoring element being moved in a favorable direction at the same time. And so, the assumption would be that second scoring element must have been getting moved toward the net or towards towards the observation zone or something similar to end up being generated as being treated as herded as opposed to being plowed.
Okay. And then in the same same meet, so a team was delivering samples but dropping them off in front of the net zone, and then the other alliance came and sort of like pushed multiple of those scoring elements into that net zone at the same time. Is that like it was I don't know that it wasn't done purposely, but it did put them into a scoring position.
And that would also likely generate a control violation, right? So
Control. Okay.
yeah. So it's the part of the idea is we're interested in seeing robot navigation as part of the gameplay, right? And so the control limit is designed to require the robots to travel back and forth as they collect. The other thing it does is it allows us to manage the number of scoring elements we need to be able to populate the field with. Right? If you could pick up as many as you wanted, we'd have to have a ton more, because I think the first couple of times we had it happen, we called it dump trucking. Robot would drive over to the collection area and just fill up, and then later in the match would go and dump truck everything out. And that's kind of a not as exciting of a game to watch.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, Beth, are you a new coach or a veteran coach? Oh, wait, there you are. There's a question in the chat. We're going to our first scrimmage this weekend. Do you have any tips or suggestions of things to think about for preparing to attend? And Beth is the coach of a rookie FTC team and a veteran of the FLL.
Batteries and battery chargers. So making sure that you always have one or more batteries that are basically either full or almost full. It's surprising how quickly they'll go. And then with a scrimmage, the real thing is take advantage of as many matches as you can get your robot into. Right. It's a sort of free-form structure. The scrimmage I ran for our area, we didn't schedule matches. It's like every so many minutes we start another matchup. There's teams that want to put the robot on for the field. Get your robot on the field, get set up. Let's play some matches. Learn how the gameplay works. Probably the biggest thing that rookie teams run into when they get to their first event is the recognition of what the gameplay actually looks like when there are 4 robots on the field, all driving around and playing at the same time. A lot of times teams practice alone and maybe not even in a full field. And so, that first experience with a full set of game elements really helps solidify the good understanding of the game. And ask lots of questions of the other teams that are there, right? That's one of the things I really like about the first Tech Challenge program is the community that it builds, right? You're playing with an alliance partner against an alliance with two opponents, and things will switch up, and you'll be taking the opposite role with all those teams. You're going to be working together, and you're going to be working against each other. It just creates a really friendly, competitive environment, and it's, to me, one of the highlights of the first programs.
For me, when I go to events, the thing that I like the best too is watching the students in the pit area just meet each other and learn from each other and check out the robots and, oh my gosh, that's cool. How did you do that? And the level of the high level of collaboration and sharing of information is really a beautiful thing to see. As adults, we don't always see that, but it's amazing when I get to see the students do that. So it looks like you're typing, Yvonne, but if you want to just unmute yourself, you can just ask a question. Oh. Yvonne said, I'd recommend having your team run through the pre-inspection checklist. Make sure your robot sign matches up with the requirements in the competition manual. She said, our kids like to have a pre and post match checklist that they run through, meeting with upcoming alliance partners to plan. Yeah, and that's great advice. Like if you're at a scrimmage that gives you a match list, if you're at a league meet or a qualifying tournament or a championship tournament, I have the students go out and meet the teams that they're going to compete with, they're going to be alliance partners with, and learn each other's strengths.
With everybody typing, it makes for
I know.
almost awkward pauses.
We play silent chicken in meetings all the time, where everybody just sits there silently, and the first person to talk, because it's uncomfortable to be that quiet for that long, they don't win a prize. That's okay, Beth.
I'll ask another one on the I usually don't like to use the mic because it makes me sweat. I'm like the introvert prefers the keyboard. With the update today, there was the I should probably just read the way it's written, but it was about, it sounded almost like if a robot drives into the opposing alliance's observation zone. I'm not sure if I fully understand. Let me see if I can find it real quick. The update, but I'll let I'm gonna mute myself while I find it.
So I'll just jump ahead of you. There was a question that got asked in a couple different forums, both team forum and the referee forum, about what to do with an opposing alliance sample or specimen that gets dropped into an alliance observation zone. What can be done with it? What can't be done with it? Can the human player manage it, manipulate it? Can the human player take it out of the game? Right? What needs to happen with it? And so we actually spent a bunch of time talking about that Tuesday on our GDC call to try to work through what made the most sense. We didn't really want to give the human player the opportunity to take it out of gameplay. We also, though, didn't want to have it be sort of a landmine that creates a problem for the alliance that owns that observation zone in terms of their ability to play. So the language that's there allows the human player to reposition it to wherever they'd like, as long as it's treated as the other samples and specimens they can manage. It still has to live within that observation zone. but they have the ability to relocate it.
Okay, so and then where it says in the orange boxes with the yellow change, and it appeared in multiple rules now. So it says they do not stack. One foul should be called per occurrence of the violation per alliance. For example, 2 fouls would be called in the case where the robot and human player are on separate alliances. So specimens hung from the field wall are still considered an alteration. I'm not sure I understand.
So we added some language that you made reference to it in your first question. If a human or a robot is holding a scoring element and they make contact with a human or a robot, either directly or through that controlled scoring element, there's a rule violation. There's 2 scenarios. Those 2 individuals, the human and the robot, could be on the same alliance or they could be on different alliances. Right. So if it's a red robot and a red human and they make contact through a scoring element, there's 1 foul given. If it's a red robot and a blue robot and they make contact through a scoring element, there's 2 fouls given, 1 to the red alliance, 1 to the blue alliance.
Thank you.
It was when we originally wrote it, when the update 5 first added it, the how to sort of dole out the fouls portion was left somewhat ambiguous. We kind of rushed, I think, getting it in to get it done so that it was out there. But when you make something ambiguous, you try to clean it up and make it a little less ambiguous.
And so Beth asked in the chat, when is the hang scored? I.e., how long after the end of the match? Can a motor be under strain at the end of the match?
There's a magic 3-second buzzer that goes off when the clock for the match hits 0. That 3-second buzzer is effectively indicator for the field personnel to know when they need to evaluate. So the ruling basically is at the end of that 3-second buzzer or when everything has come to rest. And yes, the robot can still be have an actuator or a motor energized, but it can't be moving. Right, it needs to be still. Right, so it couldn't be continuing to ascend during that 3 seconds and expect to earn. It needs to be still, and at the end of the 3 seconds, it's what gets scored.
Yep. You're welcome, Beth. Hi, Troy. Welcome.
We are in a free-form question and answer session at this point. We have a small attendee list, and so if you got questions, we'd love to hear them.
Well, I am about to attend my first event, but I don't necessarily have questions yet. I don't know what I don't know, I guess.
I can understand.
I was kind of hoping my coaches might have joined on here, but it doesn't look like they did. So we're in Oklahoma. Where are you guys hosting from?
I'm
Go ahead, Mark.
I'm in Northern California.
Okay.
I'm in New Hampshire.
So you guys are totally separate time zones.
Yep.
One of you is getting ready to go to bed. The other one hadn't had dinner yet.
That's about right.
I actually haven't had dinner yet either, so.
Oh no.
That's okay.
Well, we're excited to go and try this out for the first time, and hopefully, if it does or doesn't go well to advance to regional, then we hope we put some good boys together that 2 or 3 of them will want to stick together and continue as a team, because we'd really like to grow into FTC and keep going with some boys. We've got a boys team that wouldn't necessarily need to be exclusively boys, but that's what we got right now.
Excellent. And so the other thing I would add to that sort of description is make sure fun stays part of the equation.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Things that they do while they're learning that are fun tend to be things that stick with them.
Yes, no, that's a great point. And actually, we run our team out of a CodeWiz franchise that we just opened our franchise in March. So we're new to so much of this kids STEM, trying to get in all the right avenues and make sure it stays fun. 'Cause that's the whole
Excellent.
purpose of getting them involved early, is to show them a fun side.
Yep.
I think setting reasonable expectations, reasonable goals, for a first event. What you don't want to do is set an expectation that the team's going to come away with an award or they're going to be the captain of the winning alliance. So setting reasonable expectations, like we hope we scored this many points during
I like
during
that.
during the event, and make it a number that kind of isn't far off from what they're scoring in their practices. Maybe make a goal to meet as many other teams as possible. Find another team that's really experienced, that wants to work with the students on your team to teach them the things that they've learned. Those kinds of easy goals that really, really will serve the students in the future, I think are important.
Yes, I agree. We certainly have been focused on the teamwork and the ownership, task ownership,
Mhm.
accountability piece of it. And with that, hoping that they are supportive of each other's output. Um, and everyone seems to be contributing well. And so one of the things, being the franchise owner, is we hired a couple of college girls to be our coaches. And honestly, the goal is to help the kids connect with someone not much older than them, and
Yep.
who has robotics experience at the collegiate level, and see, find that right mix between the fun part and the serious part, and owning the outcome. And so far, I mean, the parents have been great and supportive, and everything's gone smoothly in the preparation stages. We'll see how nervous they get at competition time.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of setting a points goal, not an awards goal. I'll have to make sure I put
Yeah,
that.
awards are tricky for rookie teams. Awards can be tricky. Because, as you said when you came on, you don't know what you don't know. And
Right.
all the award criteria is listed out really clearly in section 6 of the competition manual. But for a rookie team, they're busy trying to figure out how to build a robot. And, how do you be busy trying to figure out how to build a robot and do outreach events and do the documentation that judges are looking for? It's really hard, and it's a lot to bite off in a first season. So, just make sure your team does go to judging. Make sure that they get interviewed. They have that interaction. The judges will likely come around and interview your team in the pit area too, which is pretty cool, because then the judges get to see. It's rewarding for judges because we get to see the way your team interacts and the way your team is having fun, or the way your team problem solves. I haven't judged in a bit, but I used to judge, and it was always inspiring to me to see the way the students interacted, because it seems almost seamless most of the time.
Hmm. Yes, I would agree. Coaching them to be not nervous and answer the questions honestly. The honesty is where the fun comes out, and
True.
it may take you correcting yourself to realize, oh, silly, and that would
Sure.
be the fun thing that you remember. So anyway, yeah, those are. We went to our first event last week as observers. I didn't notice coaches going around. I mean, judges going around to the pit areas, but we weren't there the entirety of the event,
Mhm.
so they most certainly could have, or probably did. But
Uh,
they were on separate floors. The competition floor and the pit floor were separate floors in the
Yeah.
center that they were trying to put this event on in. So it wasn't, nothing flowed geographically speaking.
Yeah, and if it was a meet, there wouldn't have been judging at that meet anyway, right? Meets are robot gameplay only.
No, yeah, this is a qualifier. Yeah.
Okay. Most of the initial judging happens in the morning during the inspection window, right? So the robots come in, teams come in, they take the robot, get it inspected, they go to a scheduled judging interview, And then once the opening ceremony starts, that's when the judges are doing their initial cuts on which teams are going to get reevaluated for which particular awards. And then after that initial mini deliberations happen, that's when they start to go back out and talk to the teams in the pits. So you may have just hit it at the wrong moment.
Gotcha. Yeah, certainly. We super busy. We had soccer and other stuff to go do, and got there. Just wanted to observe some of the competitions on the table.
Yeah.
How fast that time ticks away, and how the kids respond to robot adjustments and placement. And I think that might be the hardest thing to prepare for is I thought I knew my marks on my table. I knew my marks, but when I got here, so
interesting. You used the word table a couple of times. Are you describing a first LEGO League Challenge event or a first Tech Challenge event?
No, I'm sorry. It is a first LEGO League event. Yes, sir. I should have made that clear when I got on here.
Yeah. So this realistically is mostly about First Tech Challenge. So Joanne is senior director for First Tech Challenge at First, and I'm the global head referee for the First Tech Challenge program. So a lot of the general event and team management sides apply to both programs, right? It really is still all basically the same concept.
Well, I'm sorry we stayed disconnected on that for a minute, but I still think you gave some great advice.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Troy.
Yeah, well, we obviously we want to get to that next level, and you probably wondered why I said we wanted to build a team to that. Why when I first said that when I signed in. So yeah, we're a first year FLL team with a bit of an age range that maybe we should have tried to keep a little tighter, but that's okay. We're living and learning and having fun, like you said. So
yeah. So for First LEGO League Challenge, if you haven't found it yet, there's a really good online resource, the Share and Learn. So the FLL Share and Learn.
Okay.
It's a sort of I think it's a Facebook community. And so it'd be an easy place for you to go get connected with all kinds of resources and teams and other mentors and coaches, and just be an easy way to get more ideas.
I am going to look that up right now. FLL Share and Learn. I didn't even have to finish typing it.
Yep. It's got a pretty big membership to it.
Wow, that is 18,000 members. But yeah. Hey.
Well, I was going to say there's. I don't think First LEGO League Challenge does calls like this, and I think the basic truth is there are too many teams to be able to support in an environment like this. They have
in our community, there's probably 15 in a town of about 100,000. So it's definitely popular. But I can see where you're saying there's more teams because we're not seeing where teams go after the FLL age. So that's one reason why we think we would be wanting to do an FTC team next, as to be a place to go. They do the 5th, 6th grade stuff, and then what? They just leave them hanging. we want to help, bridge that gap a little bit.
So Oklahoma's got a pretty robust FTC program as well.
Yes,
we do,
and we'd love to have you.
Yeah, I think there's more clubs not affiliated with schools at the FTC level, whereas FLL is done in a lot of schools. Well, I am at a soccer game and I've been loud, and I apologize for that. And so I appreciate some of the advice, and just it's nice to get in and start to network, if nothing else.
Yeah, it really is.
Get some dust off. So, and got a resource out of you. So that's very kind. Thank you.
Thanks for spending some time with us.
Yes, thank you guys for putting this on. We'll look forward to joining when I'm an FTC team.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Do I see we have a lurker too?
So welcome, JMW. We're glad you're here. This is pretty much an open forum for any questions you might have. And we'll do our best to answer them to the best of our abilities. We probably can't help you with questions about programming. Mark could probably, but that's not what this call is for. We can't help you with questions about robot construction. Again, Mark probably could, but that's not what this call is for. And just to introduce ourselves, I'm Joanne. I work for First Tech Challenge. Mark Edelman is our global head referee, and he is a program delivery partner. He and his partner are partners in NorCal, and he is on our game design committee as well. He's a partner for the FLL and the FTC program. So in the chat,
I think Jill might know that already.
Hmm?
JMW or Jill, that's Jill's initials.
Oh, is that Jill?
I guess.
Yes, yes, Jill, you should. So in the chat, we have a question from Beth, who asked, what's a resource you most recommend for making an engineering portfolio for the first time? And Jill, if you want to unmute, and let me see if I can make you a presenter. Not sure how to do this. There you are. You are now a presenter, Jill.
I think it means if you wanted to, you could turn on your camera.
You don't have to, but you could if you wanted to. Oh, Yvonne put in a link to https://hivemindrobotics.net/FTC. It's in the chat. If you want to go check that out, Beth. It looks like it's a collection of portfolios. The portfolios are different this year. They are required for the Inspire Award. They're required for the Think Award, and they're required for the Control Award. They're optional for every other award. We think teams should do portfolios, but we found that was a limiting factor, especially for rookie teams that are just trying to figure out the things that they should be doing in year one, and adding the burden of a portfolio on top of that felt like an awful lot. So if a team can display, describe, demonstrate, or document for all of the other awards, that's perfectly fine. And each of those carry equal weights. We scared Jill away.
That her Teams wasn't being kind to her, and she's seeing if she can get back in differently.
Oh, again, this happened last week too.
We're all learning. She's coming back in.
I think I
With
can
a real.
unmute.
Ah,
Can
there
you
you
hear
go. Yes.
Firefox and I were fighting and trying to allow things. My camera is still disabled, so I'm not sure.
I'm gonna see if I can. I'm gonna see if I can make you a presenter.
So the policies for the support calls like this are only presenters can have cameras. Everybody else is just an icon.
And that's so that we can protect your privacy, because we record these and then publish them. So, you know, we don't want folks looking at your face if you don't want them to see it. We don't want folks to know your name if you don't want them to know it. It's just, it feels like a respectful thing to do.
Yes, anyway, you had a question that you thought I could answer as the global judge advisor for First Tech Challenge.
Yes, and I
Well-
should introduce you. Jill is the co-partner for First Tech Challenge and First Lego League in NorCal. I think that she and Mark are probably sitting in near proximity to one another. That's my guess. Jill is also our one of our co-global judge advisors. So she helps with creating the judging rules, making sure that the documentation is sound, policies, changes. Jill is a person that we rely heavily on to help us with those things. And she's also the lead judge advisor at the First Championship. So
With all of
Beth,
that, what can I help with?
Beth asked, what's a resource you most recommend for making an engineering portfolio for the first time? And Yvonne posted a link to portfolios.hivemindrobotics.net/FTC, which is, I believe, a repository for other teams' portfolios. I did talk a little bit about the changes to portfolios and requirements this year. You will find all of your portfolio requirements in the competition manual in section 6.
Yeah, that really, looking at other portfolios for sort of ideas of how to organize it. But what we find to be the most authentic is really understanding who your team is, what's the image that they want to convey, right? What's their identity? And then, using that to guide how you want to present the information. And there's certainly lots and lots of different ways to do that. I'm not sure there's a singular sort of best resource to say this is the one that will, present your team, your specific team in the best light. I haven't looked at the specific URL that was mentioned, but if I know a lot of teams do post their portfolio or have a completely online portfolio that they allow others to look at what they're doing, but I'm not sure I would, I wouldn't recommend just using one of them and saying, yep, this is the one that's going to win us, the Think Award or be best for us. But you could certainly use that to pick up ideas for how to present, but also, as Joanne mentioned, a lot of the requirements for awards, including the control award, which was never part of the portfolio in the previous years, is now basically that content is in the portfolio. So definitely you don't want to just lift existing portfolios. I'm sure that's not where you're going, but just keep that in mind that it's not up to date with all of the current season requirements.
It does look like the HiveMind set is a crowdsourced collection of a bunch of different portfolios. It looks like there's 15 or 20 of them there. And
Nice.
they span a couple of years.
Yeah, can you, I don't see that link because I joined, I think probably after it got posted. So if you, Mark, if you can grab that and send it
Yeah,
to me
I have
later,
it-
that would be great.
I have it open on my tablet.
Great, thanks. Somebody just put it in the chat as well. Yeah, there's also, as previously noted, there is a Facebook FTC Share and Learn. I don't think it has quite the audience participation as the FLL Share and Learn, but that's also there. There are forums. I'm assuming you've already talked about all of those types of resources for sort of connecting with others. And definitely, there are regional resources as well that a lot of regions help teams get connected, whether that's through a Slack group, workspace, or other workspaces. Yeah, thinking about team identity, right? So as you look at other people's portfolio, I think that's the, kind of looking back and seeing, particularly even just the front page, right? So I'm looking at the link that was shared, and you get a sense from some of they're somewhat whimsical, right? You get others where it seems very I'll say educational, right? So very something that looks like it was created by a school-based team, maybe as part of a homework assignment, right? They look really formalized, and everything in between. And I don't think there is a one size fits all sort of answer. And you really just, look at that, see what resonates, figure out how you want to convey your team and sort of its identity for sure. Yeah.
What else do you folks have for us? We are here to do our best to answer as many of your questions as we can. So Yvonne is an experienced coach. Beth is a rookie coach who coached FLL before. And I'm appreciating the learning that's happening between the two in the chat.
Yeah, probably the biggest change for the person who just came up from FLL is how judging is done, right? So the gameplay, I think most people can kind of appreciate FLL one robot, FTC multiple robots, but probably the way advancement works as well as just how the judging works is very, very different. It's a little bit similar in some aspects to FLL, also some similarity to the FIRST Robotics competition judging, but not completely one or the other. It's kind of a hybrid between those two. So for someone coming from FLL that's used to going in, you're used to that 5-minute presentation focused just on one aspect, the project. In this case, that 5 minutes that you have with the judges is really your marketing pitch across all of the set of awards that the team wants to sort of show up for, right? So if they are really focused only on the Connect Motivate side, they would probably spend most of their presentation with that. If they're really focused on their machine and the robot, they'd probably focus more of their attention on the 5 minutes on that aspect. And if they want just sort of a general overview, which is what I would recommend, is spending a little bit on each one. And 5 minutes goes really fast, as I'm sure everyone knows. So helping the team kind of convey their story, how they get all of the essential nuggets in there in that 5 minutes is really hard for sure and takes practice. But that's probably the biggest change, at least from the judging perspective, between the two programs. But you do have a formal interview. You also, in different regions in FLL, do have what they call roving judges. In our case, we call them pit interviews, where the judges will actually go out and talk to the teams specifically, not as hidden people, but actually as judges. So very transparently that, yes, I'm coming in to seek additional information about your team.
Beth said she appreciates your thoughts on the differences from FLL. And honestly, we could do a better job. FIRST could do a better job of explaining the differences and maybe highlighting the similarities. And we just have not done that yet. Or we've not done that well yet.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a really great idea is maybe, just some aspects, robot game. Yep, everyone's got a robot game, whether it's FLL Challenge, FTC, FRC, they all have a robot game. In FLL, it's completely autonomous. In FTC, there's an aspect that is autonomous or pre-programmed and an aspect that's not, similar to FRC, right? So I think just a couple of columns, it might make sense to help people kind of grasp similarities and the differences between the
Yep.
programs for sure. What awards are available. There are some, awards like a core values award in FLL that doesn't quite have a home exactly as that in FTC. There are
Right.
aspects of that play into, for example, whether it's think, connect, or motivate. And then there's a singular robot design award in FLL that would actually be broken out into multiple awards in FTC. So, I think it's not hard to explain, and so maybe just a simple summary might help.
Yvonne says, thank you all for taking the time to answer our questions tonight. This has been very helpful. Thank you for joining us, Yvonne. That said, another question relating FTC and FLL. We see gracious professionalism discussed in the FTC materials. Are the 6 core values of FLL also guiding principles of FTC? I believe the core values for all the programs are currently the same.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. I think the difference is that in FLL, there is a specific core values award. And if you are not participating in FLL this year, there has been some change. There's no longer a separate core values interview. You get judged effectively through your robot design and your project. So the rubrics have been modified this season for FLL. So if you are not in FLL this year, in previous years, it's a little bit different going forward. That's probably more similar to FTC, where the core values of discovery, inclusion, all of that are embedded in the awards, but there isn't sort of a singular core values award. It's probably the closest to motivate, I would say. It probably has most of the core value aspects in the Motivate Award, but not sort of called out in the same way as maybe FLL does.
Yep.
Yeah, and first went to a consolidated set of core values, gosh, a number of years ago now. So they are the same across all of the different programs. Is something that we should think about of, does it make sense to embed those in the award, criteria a little bit stronger? It's an interesting question for sure.
So we've just got a few minutes left on this call. Do we have any last minute questions? Or words of wisdom from Mark or Jill?
So from a gameplay perspective, one thing to help the kids understand is coming to the question box and asking questions of the head referee is an important part of how to learn. And it is a resource that's there. Some of these team support calls actually got created during COVID because we didn't have that learning opportunity anymore for teams, right? They were competing remotely, alone, without that feedback, without that resource for them to be able to ask questions and figure out what they didn't know. But take advantage. The referees I know, the head referees I know, they all love talking to kids. That's part of why they do the job. And so taking advantage of it, getting in, hanging out, go to the question box early, ask nice questions, and understand and learn.
Yeah, probably the other thing, if you have the time, is all of the volunteer resources, all of the volunteer manuals are published in FTC, unlike in FLL and other programs. So you can actually see, all of the material. And so, if practicing judging and actually pulling the judge manual and having, someone maybe related to the team, maybe not a coach, do some mock judging and all of being able to go through that process, definitely will help. So don't be shy about that. Those resources are there and published and open, and it is expected and fair for teams to leverage those resources.
No secrets.
No secrets. Yep.
Nope, none. And we're as transparent as we can possibly be. It's important, right? It's important that teams have the same information that our volunteers have when our volunteers are working with and monitoring the activities of teams at an event. It's important that teams know what's expected of them. Well, with that, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Jill. Thank you, Mark. We'll see you. I'm not sure when the next one of these calls is, maybe next month.
I think there were, probably one next month, and I think there were only 3 of the rookie calls
Okay.
that got put on the schedule this time around.
All right.
So if it grows in popularity, that might come back next season. I don't know. It was new this season, so.
And this call will be published on our YouTube channel, but there'll be a link to it from our website. So you should be able to find it if you want to go back and review any answer you got, review the presentation that shows you where to find the things. But thank you so much. Thank you all for joining us.
Right.
This was fun.
Thanks for letting me join the party. I was curious.
Right.
See what
Oh my
questions you
gosh.
got.
Of course, you're always welcome, Jill.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.